much more in the southern part of the country, with leading in Andhra Pradesh, followed by Karnataka, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, where HIV rates are almost 1% of the population. Whereas in the northern part of the country it is less, it is quarter percent or so. Currently government estimate is about 2.5 million infections, but that is estimate, that could be definitely much more than that. And the only good sign about HIV is that new infection rate is not growing. It has been arrested for last couple of years, rather it is going down. However, people with HIV infection, they are surviving much longer with the treatment available, with avenues of management available, avenues of different testings available. They are not dying faster than we thought earlier. So, they are surviving almost 25-30 years after infection. So, total workload of the patient increases despite HIV is not growing, but HIV number of patients living with HIV, they are growing because people are not dying. Basically, when we started HIV awareness, it was a government attitude was head in the sand, that there is nothing like HIV and we are alarmist, we are talking something which is non-existent. Same thing like people talk about swine flu or Ebola today, but you have seen how swine flu has gone up. So, initially it was a uphill task for us to convince government, but fortunately for us, after the awareness we started getting HIV infection cases diagnosed within couple of months, and world community came to our rescue, saying that what we have been saying is right, though we have been very much few people and not having much experience, but government with all these mites was wrong. Thereafter the government started little bit work, but it was up and down till 1992, till the World Bank came with a kitty that we have money for AIDS, and then the government said yes, we have a serious problem. So, the government response initially was a money dependent response, that if you have money we have a big problem, if you do not have money we do not have this problem. From then there are different phases of National AIDS program, which is called NAP or National AIDS program 1, 2, 3, 4. Currently we are in 4th program. Each program is for 5 years, but the first program was delayed by another 2 years because the money was not utilized within time and properly. So, currently we are in the 4th phase of the National AIDS program, where the thrust has been initially on only awareness, thereafter awareness plus intervention like doing work with the sex workers or drug addicts or male to male sex community, MSM it is called, thereafter testing, thereafter care. So, currently the major focus of the Government of India or National AIDS program is on the support and care of HIV positive people, whereby through their ART centers all over the country, they are covering almost 800,000 HIV patients with antiretroviral treatment program. I have been associated with a number of international experts and organizations right from 30 years, because initially, as I told you, HIV was not in India, people were not having that perception of HIV could be in India. So, we had to totally depend on them. Even I had to go for my HIV training to New Jersey and San Francisco, from where I acquired the clinical acumen of diagnosing HIV and managing HIV. And thereafter we have been organizing national conferences for last almost 10 years, currently annual conference. So, lot of international delegates, international speakers come, and we are also invited as representing India or AIDS Society of India, or one of the first few players in the whole of the Asian continent. So, we have been always traveling and meeting people. Apart from that, I have been involved in lot of training programs in Africa. Between 2000 and 2005, I must have made almost 50 trips to Africa to train doctors there in managing HIV with less investigations and less clinical support, how they can manage HIV at low cost. African situation was initially worst, but now it has been controlled, and the major control has been achieved only because of India, because India gave them the medicines at affordable prices. It is 2 to 5% of international cost. Some medicines are less than 1% of international cost. A medicine which is costing $10,492 per patient per year has been provided by Indian pharma companies at $69 per patient per year. So, India has made enough contribution to save millions of lives all over the world without inventing any new medicine, just copying the medicines which are invented abroad. So, India has played a major role, much more than the inventor companies. You see, currently if you look at the entire scenario, the things have moved from earlier we used to send letters by post. It used to reach after 8 days, 10 days. Thereafter it has been with telegram. Thereafter it was reaching 1 or 2 days. Then we got a speed post. Then we got internet. Now is a WhatsApp. Any patient want to show anything, they send picture on WhatsApp, I say prescribe WhatsApp. So by and large patients also demand that they should be provided care or testing or report or treatment as soon as possible. Secondly, I live in Mumbai, patient coming from all over the country, almost 70% of my patient from outstation. If I expect patient to stay back for a day, he will be spending much more on the hotel and food facility than what he is spending on me on testing facility. So even I have to see that patient coming in the morning and going back in the afternoon or evening. I don't want patient to stay back. Moreover, initially when the patient come, they don't come alone, they come with the 2-3 relatives. And sometimes the relatives may not be aware what patient has got. So patient has come for HIV treatment to me, and one of his male relatives is going to red light area and picking up another HIV. That is also a possibility. So we would like to see that the patients are turned out as soon as possible. In that sense, point of care is very important. In point of care, if you talk about HIV testing, initially it was a test called ELISA test. It used to take couple of hours time. You used to gather 50, 60, 100 samples, then you run it, and you required a very much trained laboratory technician and very good sophisticated lab with air condition, and preserve all the reagent in a refrigerator. For me also it is good that I can decide what management should be done, whether this treatment will work, whether this treatment will harm the patient, because in this point of care testing they are also providing hemoglobin. There are certain anti-HIV medicines which lowers the hemoglobin. If patient's hemoglobin is already lower, I cannot use that kind of drug which will further harm the patient. So I can decide what drug to be used, whether I should use the drug or not, and how do I follow up, and if the patient has come for follow up, whether my drug has worked or not worked. It is very difficult to draw blood in child of 1 year or 2 year old, because child born to mother to child transmission, from mother to child is we have to test after 18 months. After 18 months, how can you draw blood? From where do you draw blood? You need a specialist, a pediatrician or a venipuncture specialist who will find a good vein and poke in. If point of care requires only 1 drop, just I poke in, 1 drop is available, I do the test. So from all that angle, and even for the conventional labs where they have large volume testing and they don't want to do point of care as a routine, but their equipment is out of order, or reagent has finished, or in government program every time there is a some or the other out of stock, technician has not come on duty. What do you do then? You cannot expect patient to come back tomorrow, day after tomorrow. So you do point of care in at least those 4-5 people which are really waiting, and you can do the testing. So that way the entire world is moving towards point of care, and is good also for a small volume testing and a clinic oriented setup, where a physician having only out of 20-30 patients he is seeing, having only 1 or 2 HIV patient, he can do point of care testing in his clinic and patient can go away with the test. I run my setup, which is a comprehensive HIV care clinic. We call it one-stop shop. So it's the counseling, testing, care, X-ray, sonography, general lab, CD4, viral load, everything under one roof, including medicines. So and that's the reason I can say with authority that even if my patient comes from anywhere in the country, up to 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the afternoon, by 5 o'clock I dispose of the patient with everything, all diagnosis, all the reports which are required, all the medications patient required, and patient doesn't have to go for window shopping. And all this thing being at one place is cheaper for the patient. If he has to go for a sonography to one sonologist, X-ray to another person, nobody is going to report to him so quickly. But we have tuned our system in such a way that morning to evening we run the test. By 4 o'clock our sonologist come, by 4:30 X-ray technician come, everything reporting is done, patient goes back at 5:30. In African setup, we started the setup which was about close to $40,000-50,000. All the lab and all the establishment was done, and they provided the premises.